Hello guys and welcome back to this channel. So this week once again the 714 method gave us some amazing trades, right? And I'm quite happy about it. What even made me more happier is the amount of messages and emails I received from you guys showing screenshots of you actually using the 714 method, right? I mean, honestly, that's super impressive. I actually like that a lot. Keep it up. If you keep going on with this, very soon you won't even hesitate to enter into a trade, right? You know when to enter into a trade and when not to. Very simple. I even see a lot of you guys use it on different pairs, and trust me, it's quite impressive. It's quite impressive. But that's just by the way. Let's dive down into this charts and break down what actually happened this week, because it was some marvelous trades, right? Now, if you are new to this channel and you don't know anything about this 714 method, just follow us, because in this video I'm going to be sharing a blueprint. Now, with that blueprint, you can equally enter into a trade with the strategy, even if you don't know anything about it, right? So let's dive in. So let's look at Monday. Now, if you've been watching my videos and you actually analyze what I've been doing, you realize that this is the blueprint I've been using in all of my trades, right? This same blueprint is just a 4-step process, right? You don't have to stress yourself that much. So first of all, let's analyze the 714 method. You realize that within the 714 method, this zone right here, where in an uptrend at the beginning, price came all the way back down at the end of the 714 method, right? Giving us a what? A triangle trend or a V trend. Very simple. So with this, we mark this high right here and we mark this low right here. If price breaks below this level, we are entering into a sell. If price breaks above here, we are entering into a buy. You already know this because I actually analyzed this trend or this trade on the channel already, right? So first of all, what we need to do is mark our levels right here. So this is our first level and we mark our second level. You can equally start it from here and push all the way through, or you can just start from this range right here. It's up to you, right? Very simple. Now the next step is trend analysis. I've said it, just analyze the trend a little bit. It will help you a lot, right? So when you look at the trend, you realize that this was our last high. Price actually tried taking it out with this full move right here, but couldn't. And with that same move, price gave us this nice low right here. You can obviously see it, right? Very simple. Now, this nice low right here actually got taken out from this whole trend, meaning this is our last low. Now, let's just mark this before I actually tell you what is happening, right? Very simple. So what is now happening? You can see that price tried taking out this high, couldn't, but eventually took out this low right here, meaning this right here is our change of character. That is one. Price came all the way back down to this range right here. And we had a massive push. You can see it, price push all the way up just to pull liquidities from this fair value gaps right here. Very simple. And drop all the way down, taking out this low right here, giving us a break of structure here. So what is it telling us? It's telling us that we are in a downtrend. Very simple. We had our change of character right here, our break of structure right here. We are in a downtrend. So now we are confident that there's a likelihood that this 714 method will actually move towards what? The downward side, but not the upward side, right? Very simple. So this is why the trend analysis is very important. So after this trend analysis, how do you enter into your trade? Well, this is a V trend or a triangle trend. You can just wait to see the amount of buyers or the amount of sellers coming into the market and you enter into your trade, right? You don't really have to stress yourself that much. Now, what were we waiting for? We're just waiting for another candle that just pushes all the way down. You can see it, right? A massive candle again, showing us that sellers are still coming into the market. Now, if you are someone who actually waits for confirmations, you could have actually analyzed this fair value gap right here and you wait for price to push all the way back into that fair value gap and you enter into your trade, right? Easy as that. But because the fair value gap is not really that far from our entry, which will be right here, what do? We just try our best and enter into our trade anyways, and we'll put our stop loss above the fair value gap, right? You can see it. We'll put our stop loss just above the fair value gap. In any case, price pushes all the way back into this fair value gap right here, we are safe. Now, where should you put your first and second TP? Obviously, when you look below this range right here, you can see that this is double lows, right? Or this is equal lows. So meaning there's a lot of liquidity below this range. So if price pushes all the way through it, there's a likelihood that price will reverse, right? So this is the place you should put your first TP. And this is our last low right here, meaning right here is our place that price will come to just to break structure, telling us that we are actually still continuing a downtrend, right? So you should put your second TP right here. Very, very simple. So that's just all you needed to do. You should just put your first TP around this range right here. Very, very simple. So let me use this so that it will actually be fast, right? So your first TP should have been here, and your second TP should have been below this range right here. Now, obviously, you could also target lows down here and put your second TP, but still, when you look below that range, you realize that there's a fair value gap right here. You can say it right, a very big fair value gap. So even if you are targeting below this range, actually just avoid this fair value gap, because price can come all the way back into this range and just push all the way up, right? So you could have just done this and you leave your second or your third TP rather. Sorry, you leave your third TP, but try your best and avoid this fair value gap right here. So your third TP could have been on this range, just around this level right here, because you don't actually want it to enter into the fair value gap and to end up reversing, right? Very, very simple. So this should have just been your trade, a very simple trade, right? So let's see how the trade actually worked out. Now, obviously, when you look at it very, very closely, you realize that our first TP actually got hit, right? Our second TP never got hit, and price went all the way back into that fair value gap to pull more liquidity or take more orders, right? So if you were also someone who actually entered into a trade around this range, your order or your trade would have still been taken, right? Very, very simple. So let's see what happened. Now, obviously, when you look at it, it was a massive trade. Price went to our first and second TPs, but when you look at my trade, you realize that I actually avoided this level. I actually allowed this trend to push all the way up, meaning I was already out of the trade, right? It pushed all the way up into this range again, pull more liquidity. When we push down back to this range, and I got into another trade because I know the trend is still pushing all the way down, right? That was just how it was. A very simple trade. You don't have to stress yourself. Now, do you see what we did here? We just use that same blueprint, right? First, we find our zone, right? This is the 714 meter zone. We find it, we analyze the zone. When we analyze it, this is what we had. A very nice what V trend, right? Or triangle trend. We analyze that triangle trend. We know how to trade with that triangle trend. The next step is the trend itself. Are we in a downtrend or we are in an uptrend? Because we need confidence to enter into the trade. When we actually understood that we are in a downtrend, what do? We waited for a confirmation just down here, meaning just a normal bearish push, right? Very, very simple. We entered into our trade and kept our stop losses at a very serious yet very, very good level, right? Easy as that. And we targeted this as our first TP, second TP, and third TP. So that is the blueprint. When you use this every single day, trust me, the 714 method is going to be very, very simple for you, because sometimes you don't even really need to enter into the trade. You just have to avoid it and enter into a different trade, right? Meaning reverse it, which is the reverse 714 method, right? So that was just it on Monday. Let's go to Tuesday and see what actually happened. So let's look at Tuesday. Now, the same blueprint, nothing changes, right? So when you look at Tuesday, you obviously realize that we're in an uptrend within the 714 method. A very nice uptrend. If we're in an uptrend, our expectations are that price should push all the way down after this uptrend elapses, right? Very, very simple. Now, our next stage of this same blueprint is what? Analysis, which is the trend. Now, when you look at the trend, you obviously realize that we were in an uptrend, right? A very nice uptrend, because this was our last low and right here was our last high. You can say it right. So last high right here, last low right here. So we're still in an uptrend. We just kicked through our last high right here, right? So obviously, how can we actually be looking for a sell if we are in an uptrend? All you needed to do was to just look at it from a bigger picture, right? I've always told you guys, if it doesn't make sense on a smaller picture, look at it on a bigger picture, right? You find everything you need to enter into a trade. Now, this 714 method, this is a strategy. You have to take your time and get into maximum level, right? Maximum profits. That is what we want from this strategy. So when you look at it closely, you realize that we had this massive candle right here. That was a bearish fair value gap, a very big one, right? So obviously, this was the only clue for us to enter into a sell. And the reason why we're going to enter into a sell right here is if price rejects from this range, we have a bullish movement into this range, and all of a sudden we are seeing bearish candles because this is a last high that we just took. Price is supposed to push all the way up, right? So if we are seeing bearish candles from here, meaning this level will actually work. And when you look at the trend itself, you realize that we're just in a shallow uptrend, right? So obviously we should actually expect price to retrace from here or just make a simple pullback, at least giving us this low right here, right? So that was just what we wanted, and we actually got it. We got it because within some two candles, you can see it right here, right? Price had a massive push all the way up, followed by this next two candles right here, meaning bearish movement. Price is coming in. The sellers are coming in, right? It means the sellers are coming in. What do? You enter into your sell. Now, you already know after the entry, the most important thing is the stop loss. And by the looks of this, I'm not even going to tell you, you know where we should put our stop loss, right? So despite you entering into a trade around this range right here, your stop loss should always be above the fair value gap. So it's up to you to actually enter into the trade so small that it will not hurt your account, right? Or you enter into a smaller trade right here. When price eventually pushes all the way back into this range, you enter into more trades, right? But there's a likelihood to that price will not push all the way back into that. So all you needed was just patience. When you see the move finally going towards the direction, which is a downtrend, you can start in stacking in more trades, more trades, right? Very, very simple. So this was just what we had. When our first TP was actually here, you already know, because this is the last low. We are now targeting to take out this last low right here so that price can be in a bearish movement, right? So, and this right here was our second TP. Very, very simple. That's just what we wanted, price to actually push all the way through. So this was a trade, a very simple trade. Now, do you understand the reason why we actually entered into this trade, right? So look at this. Price reversed all the way back into our stop loss, right? But actually came all the way back out again. That is why it's very, very important for your stop loss to be above a fair value gap or an order block, because price can equally just push all the way back into it for absolutely no reason, just to pull liquidity or take you out of the trade and push all the way down, right? Because some people could have actually just kept their stop losses above this high right here, which they would have gotten taken out, right? Very, very simple. So that's why it's always important to put it above the liquidity zones, right? Because you don't want any trouble. So this was just it, a very simple trade. You do not have to stress yourself that much. Price came all the way down, took out our first TP, went straight to our second TP, right? It was a very simple trade, very, very simple trade. Now, if you are someone who actually enters into trade with trend lines, you could have also entered into a trade with this right here, because it was a massive trend line, right? As you can see, price came all the way through, break through it, and we had a retest just around that spot. With this massive candle, you could have also gotten into a trade here, and you'll be targeting this first low right here as your first TP, and this next low as your second TP, right? Very, very simple. So that was just how the trend actually went. That was just how the trade went. A very simple trade. So let's go to Wednesday and see what actually happened, right? So let's look at Wednesday. Now, to understand what actually happened on Wednesday, I have to show you my trade, right? So what you are looking at currently is my trade on the 714 method. You can see that I was actually in the trade up here, right? This is not what I want you to take from this video. What I want you to take from this video is the analysis that I did just right there. So let's go back to the chart. So when we come back to the chart, you obviously see that I had something that looks like this. So let me just draw this. You realize that I have something that looks like this, right? You can say it, right? So I have something that looks like this. Okay, so let's analyze the trend itself. So let's look at what happened. So this was what happened within the 714 method, right? We had a massive uptrend. Trust me, it was massive, right? Look at it. A massive uptrend. So indirectly, it was telling us that we should look for a sell, right? A very simple sell, to be precise. We should look for a sell all the way down. So how do we sell from this type of massive trend, right? So obviously, when you look at my trade, I've shown you already, you realize that I had something that looks like this. So this right here is a bullish flag. A very, very simple concept. A lot of people have been trading with this, right? So this is a bullish flag, when you see this actual movement right here, you should have already been in a buy because you know price is going to push all the way up through it. Now, there is a reason why price is doing this because we are in an uptrend. When you look at the whole trend itself, you can see that this right here was our break of structure. Right here was a change of character. Price was just in a very massive uptrend. Break of structure again, break of structure again. A very massive uptrend, right? So this right here was just a consolidational bullish flag. So indirectly, price is pushing all the way up and will continue to go up. But normally, bullish flags, when price push all the way up like this, they normally come back just to retest it and push all the way up, right? Now, that wasn't really the confirmation for you to enter into the trade. All you needed was to just look back. When you look back on this trade on Wednesday, it wouldn't have made any sense because we were quite very high, so it wouldn't have made any sense. All you needed to do was just look at a smaller or just a little bigger time frame, right? So all we used was a 30 minutes time frame, and this is what we could find. You see that low right there? This right here was a massive low, just a very simple low right there, right? So price came all the way back into it, but this wasn't just the only low that was making price push all the way down. This right here was also a fair value gap. So price came all the way back into that fair value gap, and we are now seeing what rejections. If you see rejections in a fair value gap, what do? You enter into your sell trade, right? But the reason why this wasn't really a priority, this trade wasn't really a priority, even though we actually entered into it, because we know that the most place that this trend could actually just go is coming all the way back down just to retest this low right here. That is just it. We know that this is just where it's coming to before we continue pushing all the way up because we are still in an uptrend. Just that price has given us this massive gap right here. So price has to come back, fill in that gap, and continue pushing all the way up. So that's why this trade wasn't really a priority, right? But you still could have entered into it. You can see the rejection. You enter into a trade or you wait for another rejection. You can see another rejection right here, right? And you enter into your trade. Very simple, putting your first or your second TP at this same low right here because you know there's no way price is going to go below it. We are still in an uptrend, so you could have entered into your trade, and this is it. This was just it. It wasn't any big deal, right? It wasn't any big deal. This was just it. We know price was just a retracement. It wasn't any serious thing. It was just a retracement. So this is just all you needed to do. When price comes all the way back into this fair value gap, you could have gotten out of your first TP around this high right here. You can see it. So your first TP could have been here. Your second TP will be here. Because you know price is not going anywhere. There's no way price is going to kick out this lows right here and just start dropping, right? There's no way. We are already in a massive uptrend. And because of the news, tariffs and all those stuff, you know gold was just going to continue pushing all the way up. So this was just where price just wanted to come. And that was it. Price came all the way through. It was just a very simple trade, not even a priority, right? But we actually got it. So that's just a 714 method. Now, this is how we execute it again with that same blueprint, right? You analyze your trend. We are in an uptrend. Very simple. That's the first step. The second step is the trend analysis. We are in an uptrend, a very nice uptrend. So there's no way price will continue pushing all the way down through this range. But we also saw this fair value gap that could hit price down. So what we are waiting for is a rejection. If you have a rejection right here, this correction right here, we are going to follow it. That is just all we needed. We'll follow it. And we already know where to put our stop loss above the fair value gap. And our TP is just around this range right here because we know price is not going lower than that. And when you look at the trend, that was actually what happened. Price did not go lower than that, as you can see. So you could just wait. You could just wait for price to push all the way up through this fair value gap again. Start buying again. So that was just it on Wednesday. Let's go to Thursday and see what actually happened. So let's look at Thursday. Now Thursday was quite simple as well, and a lot of you guys actually texted me your pictures of you entering today's trade right now. To the three of you guys that I actually said that was gambling, don't enter into the trades like that. I explained to you the reason why I said that, and you guys actually got clarification on that, right? So it's very simple. Now I'm just going to explain it here so that you guys will actually say the reason why I said those trades wasn't really worth entering to, right? But obviously, when you look at this trend, you realize that we're in an uptrend. When you look at it, just around this range, that is a 714 meter zone, right? We're in an uptrend. Now, our expectations were that price should push all the way down Very, very simple. That's our expectations right now. The next step in this strategy is always the trend. Trend analysis is very, very important. You can see over here that we broke through this low. That right there was our change of character, right? That right there was our change of character. After changing character, price gave us this nice low right here and eventually went through it, giving us another low right here. Now I can continue doing this, but that wouldn't help. So this right here is our last low, right? So this right here is our last low. Obviously, when you look at it, this right here is our last low, right? Very, very simple. So now that we know that that right there is our last low, where is our last high? So if this trend is our last low, which trend actually took out this? You obviously know that it's this trend right here, right? This trend actually took it out. But above it, we had some sort of resistance level right there. So all you needed to do was to just mark this resistance level. Either you mark it or you just look at it. You realize that price just converted into an uptrend. We just came all the way through this resistance level, came all the way back and retested it. Where is price going to? Price is continuing to go up because we are now in an uptrend, right? So at this moment, what do? You use the reverse 714 method. And when you want to use the reverse 714 method, there are two things that you need to wait for. You need to wait for price to either take out this last high right here. That is one. Or you wait for a very serious bullish movement, which is a very big bullish engulfing candle. Or just like this, right? Just like this. You can wait for something like this. If we have a retracement from this high, and we just get something like this, that's a bullish engulfing candle. You do what? You enter into your trade because you know we are pushing all the way up. We are in an uptrend. We are no longer in a downtrend, right? So all you needed was the first step. Just mark this last high right here, which was just around this range, right? So when you look at it, you realize that that was a massive high. All you needed to do was just mark it. Price can retrace from here, but we are still not entering into a trade because we know by this movement right here that we are in an uptrend. And obviously, even if you just wanted to ignore this, I've told you guys, if it doesn't make sense, just go to a bigger time frame. When you look at it, what are we having? An uptrend. When you go to a 30 minutes time frame, what are we having? An uptrend. When you go to a 1 hour time frame, what are we having? An uptrend. Price is just trying to take out this high right here. And you can obviously see that around this range, when you push all this all the way back, you can see that there was a resistance level, right? So as the price breaks through this resistance or it shows a very massive bullish movement, you don't enter into a buy. You can equally enter into a sell, but you already know we are in an uptrend. So there's no really a need for you to enter into sells around this range because that would just be gambling. We're in an uptrend. Moreover, there was news around this range right here, right? I can't actually tell the time that the news was, but since it was around somewhere 1:30 p.m. That's UTC plus zero, right? So you could have eventually just avoided it totally. And that was what we did. Just avoid it. Now you can see that price did come all the way back into it and rejected, right? Very, very nice. But that was a news candle. This right here was news. And you don't have to be trading news if you don't know how to do it, right? Just allow the news to go and you enter into your trade. Now, look at this. You can see the price did manage to do what? Push through our level, but immediately rejected all the way down, right? Why is this so? Because price is telling you that it has to pull more liquidity. And until we see a very massive bullish engulfing candle, we are not entering into a trade. So you could have also just waited, mark this range right here. If price eventually takes out this level, that's a what? A break of structure. You enter into a trade because this right here is already a break of structure. So when price takes out this high right here, that's just a small trend. This small trend is break of structure. You enter into a trade. Easy as that. It was that easy. Sometimes when you are using this reverse 714 method, all you need to do is just wait. Now look at the trend. Just look at it. Marvelous. You can see it right there, right? With this candle alone, you could have already been in the trade because you know for sure that price is pushing all the way up after this massive move right here. There's no way price won't go up after this massive move right here. You enter into your trade. This whole trend push down or this whole trend bearish movement was just what? News. When the news was over, you see price pushing all the way up with some massive trend. So you could have already been in a trade around this range. Likewise, you could have also gotten into a trade right here because we just broke through this level. So either way, you should have been in a trade right now. It was just a very simple trade. You don't have to stress yourself that much. So you could have been in a trade right here with your stop loss below this range as usual. You could have been in a trade right here. If you're someone who wanted to just wait for a confirmation when price took out this high right here, so you could have also gotten into a trade around this range with your stop loss just being below this level. So you should have had something that looked like this. When price starts moving towards your direction, you just continue to add in more trades, right? Because you know this is a massive uptrend movement. We are already in an uptrend, right? Since the whole of the week, you can see it, right? We are already in a massive uptrend. So if price is giving you a reason to continue stacking in trades, just continue to do that, right? Don't stress yourself that much. So you could have also been in this trade right here, but it's very, very simple. This should have been it because this bullish engulfing candle was very, very nice, right? Very, very nice. I don't even know how to explain it. It was very, very good. So you could have been in the trade. Very, very simple. Now you could have targeted 1:2, like something that looks like this, 1:2, then you multiply it and you get something like this, 1:4, right? And just leave your third trade because you know price is going all the way up. So you should have had something that looks like this. Very, very simple. And it will shock you to see how price actually went to our first and second TPs, right? Very, very easy because we're just going all the way up. Now, this turned out to be a very nice trade. We followed this same trend for like 2 days straight, right? Because this whole day, Thursday, we're in an uptrend and followed by Friday as well, right? Just that Friday was quite not really good that much with the 714 method. But let's look at it because this was just a very simple trade. So let's look at Friday. Now, by the looks of Friday and with Monday's analysis, you already know the type of trend that we are having, right? A V trend or a triangle trend. You can already see it. Price coming all the way back down to that same range. Now, we did have a massive push after that, but we did not actually make any trend after this, right? This was just it. We pushed all the way back, came all the way back down, and this was just a rejection towards the upward side, right? Very, very simple. So indirectly, you already know how we are going to enter into this trade. I don't really have to explain this again. You just mark this range right here. Come and mark below this level right here. If price breaks to any, you are entering into a sell or a buy, right? Now, the next step is the trend analysis. Now, let's look at the trend itself. So when you look at the trend, you realize that this right here was a very nice high. You can see it's rejecting price all day long, right? But we eventually took it out. Very, very simple. With this trend, we took this last high out. Easy as that. Now, after that, price dropped all the way down to this range before taking out that last high as well, right here. So obviously, this right here was our last low. Now you can see that this bearish movement came all the way down and took out that last low right there. Very, very simple, right? So indirectly, we are looking for a bearish movement, but with this trend, we don't really care where price is going to. All we care about is this high right here and this low right here, right? But the confidence we're having was in a downtrend, right? If price eventually comes all the way back down and it rejects through this range, meaning if price breaks through this range, we'll be targeting this and this as our first and second TP, right? Easy as that. So that was just the trend on Friday, but it was actually a very nice trend because that wasn't really what we actually got right. You know how trading works. Sometimes you hope for something and you never get it. So this was what actually happened though. You can see what happened. A very simple trend. Price just pushed through this range right here massively. Meaning price is now pushing all the way up. You can see the bullish movement right here, right? You enter into your trade. Easy as that. Where do you put your stop loss? You already know where to put it. I don't really have to say this countless times. You know where to put it. Below this right here. And we're targeting which high as your first TP. Obviously, we mean or we think price will actually come all the way up and take out this last high right here. So that right there should be our first TP. Because if price is pushing all the way up, then we should take out this last high right here, right? Very, very simple. So that right there should be our first TP. And there you go. You multiply it and you get your second TP. Now, Friday, we did not actually get there because price was just quite kind of consolidating, right? But we got to our first TP though before it started consolidating. As you can see, we actually got to our first TP, but it just started consolidating. As you can see, came all the way back down to this range. We pushed all the way up, taking out this last high again, and we dropped all the way down again. So we just had to get out of the trade because there was this massive bearish movement. So let me show you this. So this was it right here. You can see this massive bearish movement right here. You just have to get out of the trade. Keep your funds right. When you get a normal entry again, you can get into the trade. But at the moment, just keep your funds because you cannot be waiting on this level right here, just below this range right here, to be working all the time. No, you can just get out of the trade and you'll be free to go. If you get a nice entry, get in again. So that was just it on Friday. You can see how it is, right? Very, very simple. Now that's why I call this triangle trend the easiest trend to trade. A lot of people actually texted me and they used the triangle trend on Friday. But there is this guy that I kind of think he's going to go really, really high, right? Trust me. I always use the 714 method on gold, right? I always use it on gold because it's gold that I've been trading right now for a very long time, right? It's gold that I actually like most. But I have these videos on my channel that I used it in a single day. I used it on about six different pairs, right? I've told you guys it works with anything that is going against the USD, right? JAL USD, JPY, all of it. Anything that goes against the USD, you can use the 714 method. But what he does is very, very simple. He actually understands this. So he'll go and plot in the 714 method on those several what pairs just to maximize his gains. Do you understand that? So in case gold, we do not get a nice setup, we'll get a nice setup on BTC USD. If we don't get a nice setup on BTC USD, we'll get a nice setup on GBP USD. Do you understand the concept? Very, very simple. So it's actually quite impressive, right? It's very, very impressive. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, subscribe, learn the 714 method very, very well. And let's all use it this coming Monday, right?